Right in time. Uh-oh. Can I hear myself? Oh, yeah. You're going to sound a little lighter in this, but I think the audio is still better. I tuned it down a little bit. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
It is another Thursday with Adam and Ryan.
Woo!
It took a lot to get to the show, right? Ryan, come back from vacation.
Totally. Like, literally yesterday, yesterday at this time, I was not feeling good and food poisoned and all of that. Who knows what was happening, but made it for the show.
And he made it for the show. That's the part, the trials and tribulations to get here and be able to do the thing. So we're excited for this show. As always, we have an agenda we pulled together. Actually, some pretty good conversation that I think we're going to jump in tonight.
Totally.
I think we're going to do a 2-hour show tonight.
Yeah.
So normally the 3, but we're gonna shorten it up. Make sure it's
my body needs rest. So and it has an early morning. So we'll do typically our first sort of half of the show.
We can spare some time. I got a new setup. I got this this nice 1980s-esque kind of vibe going on.
I love it. Is this a particular? Is this just in like the vibe of this time, or is this an actual pattern that was like on things?
I feel like it was.
It feels like it could be one of those Berenstain
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, like it feels like it could be one of those Berenstain Bears things where you're like, of course, that was everywhere. And then somebody tell you like, actually, that came out in 2015.
It probably could have. It was 1980s vibe according to Amazon.
Totally.
So,
I mean,
did we talk about simulation theory, by the way?
Is that like we're entirely in a simulation?
In a simulation? Have you heard about this before?
I have heard about this.
We'll have to.
I think it could totally be true.
It is. We could talk about that. There was a show that I watched, of course, about it in a minute. But let's get through some of our show today. We do have questions for humans out there.
Questions for humans. We'll get a couple of those in.
If you're hanging out with us tonight, let us know who's out there.
Yeah, you can answer some questions.
Answer questions. Before we get that, let's just do a rundown of our agenda tonight. Yeah. We got a couple things on the roster. We got, of course, questions for humans.
Yep.
We got some topics, hot trends and topics like we always talk about. Microsoft's interactive AI world model. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
Because we had talked a little bit about this type of stuff before.
What is a world model, Ryan?
Just like how AI can create a world around you in real time, right? Isn't that sort of the Doom? We watched one about Doom.
Right. It's like basically generating a video game in real time kind of thing. So there's an interesting video. Microsoft has made a major step forward with that. Of course, we got to check in with Sam Altman and what they're doing with GPUs there. Ryan, what was this next one we were going to talk about?
So over this last week, we were in sunny California, which was awesome. We went from basically driving up to DIA in a blizzard, a whiteout blizzard, to 75 degrees and sitting on a beach. And part of that was we went to Universal Studios, and I really feel like there was a wide range of like how technology and entertainment in rides. I feel like you could see it from the early stages of it to the most advanced versions that they have today. And so I thought I'd talk about them because I feel like they're interesting.
Sounds like interesting. I'm excited to hear. Yeah. I know it's been changing as we go. Let us know how the audio sounds tonight, because I did some audio tuning last time. It was interesting. It sounded really loud out here last time. And so I tuned that, and then I made it better in the back area. So if you hear us, you don't, we need our audience to let us know how things are going. Little lighter in our ears, but that's okay. Like it
almost like doesn't matter what it sounds like to us. It's like how does it go out to the stream?
What does it sound? So we also wanted to go to the Unitree B2W robot. Yeah, we've talked about robots on the show, and I feel like the intersection between AI and robots hasn't quite hit. But there's this like crazy robot stuff going on, and all this AI talk, and one of these days they're going to intersect, and it's gonna come together.
I had heard that somebody said that robots were going to have their ChatGPT moment this year. Where
I totally
where you're just like, where you just go, oh my God, I can't believe we've made those kind of leaps in AI, which is what ChatGPT did. We're going to see that in, humanoid android robots.
It's going to be interesting. One of the things that I saw out there was this robot that looked kind of cool, and they were selling it for like $1,300. I was like, oh no, $13,000.
Okay.
I was like, nah, it's like a car.
Right.
It's almost there, and it does like
almost consumer.
does flips and things. And I was like, oh man, this looks bad. It looks like it's gonna come at us. So we'll talk a little bit about the robots. Of course, we've been doing some stuff with video games, and I wanted to talk about open source Godot, Godot. There's that Godot. There's like ways to say it, and nobody's agreed as to how
Really?
you say it.
Okay.
It's a whole thing out there. They don't
I
see that.
I didn't realize.
And then let's jump into some prompting, right?
Yeah.
I figured that might be
A good
something
way
we
to
could take a
sort of
look
end
at.
the show, and I've been wanting to learn more about Copilot. I feel like it's been one of those things that's sort of off in the background of what I've been doing, but they're trying to cram it into everything. It feels like Microsoft, so it'd be good to know more about it.
Here's what I want to do, Ryan. I want you to do questions for humans. I didn't get any feedback from the chat. I want to just make sure that we're sounding good. So why don't you pull a question? I'm going to go to the other room, just make sure we got some good audio.
Okay. All right. I'm going to pull a question. Questions for humans. Okay.
You sound pretty good.
All right. What is one parenting trend that society is totally getting wrong? A parenting trend that society is totally getting wrong. Gentle parenting. I feel like these could be like controversial, you know?
Leashes. Man, this one's interesting because I kind of think about that. Hold on, we're gonna use this camera.
Right?
I have this camera. I'm gonna use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, look at it. You get this nice like shot of the board
shot.
now. Oh, it's great. All right, Ryan, you want to go with this one? What's your thoughts?
I mean, let's see.
Wait, don't let your kid be an asshole.
Right. I feel like Stealth Mouse brings something up. It's almost like the idea of taking something that could be okay, right? Like gentle parenting and just letting your kid run wild are two different things, you know? So I would say that is something. Geez, I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, okay, like technology wise, I knew that was going to happen tonight, Ryan. And that's why we got this nice new thing. We got it on the show, Ryan and his spilling of great things. No, there's some things around the corner. I think with parenting trends that could go bad, there's some right over here, Ryan, behind the bar. It's like I kind of think about devices, and this is where I'm not even sure if it's controllable or something that we can think about. Like, what about I let my kids play a lot of games and do a lot of things on their phone, and I don't know if that's appropriate or if I should be allowing them to do that. Like, they should go outside and have some other experiences. I think that there's some other opportunities to kind of think of in that regard. I
definitely think, like, and I do this too. Like, my kids can do this, so it's a bad trend that I'm perpetuating. But like, I do feel like short form video, like vertical short form video is like, yeah, that's probably not cool for vertical short form video feels like the attention span killer to me. Like, I would rather a kid play any sort of garbagey game on their phone than have them just like scroll YouTube shorts for hours and hours and hours.
TikTok,
at a time.
bro.
Or like, yeah, well, we just use YouTube shorts in our house, but like TikTok and all of that kind of stuff, that feels like, man, I don't know. That feels like the, one of the furthest roads down, like just short attention span, instant gratification, and an algorithm learning as fast as it possibly can what turns your
so
brain
what can
on.
we do as parents? How is the trend? Like, we're just allowing it to happen, but I don't even know if we can fight it, because sometimes we're stuck in the loops as well.
Right. Well, and I guess the parenting trend would be, or a parenting trend that is getting wrong is allowing infinite amounts of that, right? Like, it should probably have some kind of YouTube short or TikTok, like,
I was happy when
thing.
TikTok was going to go away. I
Me
was
too.
like so excited. And
I feel like most people were. Like most people were like, yeah, good. Get that
and
out of
even
my
some
life.
people that were probably into TikTok, like, finally, I'm going to be released.
I'll be free. I'm free. That
All right. Well,
was a good one.
I thought, no, they weren't. Wait, no, they weren't what?
Okay. Here's a would you rather. Do you do a quick one?
Would you rather? Yeah, go for it. We can do 3.
Would you rather break your nose
Oh, God.
or get poison ivy rash all over your body?
Let me see. Have you ever had poison ivy? That's the question. Hey, Higley.
Hey, Higgs.
What if you had a really bad nose and breaking it fixed it? Could be a thing.
Because, like, if you break your nose, can't that, like, change the shape of your nose?
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be bad. Whereas, like, a poison ivy rash all over your body, you could sort of do that, like, cream or something all over you. I mean, I'll probably defer to the nurse in the chat. She would probably know. But, oh, nice. Crooked noses are cute. I could see that.
You know what's funny is that it was probably around 6 months ago, just over here, you can't even see it. I like smashed my nose into the like side of the thing, like fairly bad. And it's like, my nose is slightly crooked after that.
Huh,
I don't know what happened, but I know it
But you
didn't
can
have the
notice
little
it?
turn, but like it totally did something that messed me up. So
We were once playing, have you ever heard of the game Groundies? You heard of the game Groundies, Adam?
I'm trying to think. No, what is that?
Groundies is where you take playground equipment and you put one person on the playground equipment.
All right.
And then, or no, there's one person off the playground equipment. Everybody else is on the playground equipment. That one person that's off of the playground equipment has to close their eyes anytime they are touching the playground equipment. And they try to tag the people who are on the playground equipment. So a lot of times they'll be trying to reach up and tag and you can move out of the way. But then if you just like ran up the stairs, you could close your eyes and then everyone tries to like get away and move around you and be quiet. You know, and then if you jump, and if one of those people jumps on the ground and the person hears them, they can scream groundies. And if they're not touching any of the equipment at some point, then they're it. Either that or they get tagged. You can see how this would be dangerous because you're climbing around on equipment with your eyes closed, you know? And one time my wife, Catherine, was running up something.
Oh, God.
Fully eyes closed and just ran straight into the thing and it like dented her nose. Like it literally had a dent in it for like a long time. And eventually it went away. But like we were like, do you just have a dent in your nose?
Permanently dented.
For the rest of your life?
Man, there's so many trauma things. When you said old like equipment like that, back in our day, it was all about metal equipment, like tubes with like metal ladders in it and smelled like urine.
And they would get hot as hell during like
burn
the summer.
you.
I once got a splinter underneath, crammed all the way down into my thumbnail, all the way down to the quick. Because I jumped and it was all made out of wood that wasn't treated or whatever at my school in Washington. And I crammed my hand down to catch myself and the splinter went straight down into my thumbnail.
Ooh. I see in here Stealth Mouse talked about going crazy, itching and burning back to the first one with the poison ivy. One quick story is I used to be part of like YMCA. They had like the daycare stuff.
Totally.
They would take you on these bike rides. And we were on this like one bike ride and this kid was a little bit like not great at riding bikes. And there was this big embankment and down on one side there was a bunch of leaves. Dude went right off the embankment, went down into a huge pile of poison ivy.
Oh, man.
And so, like,
Brutal.
people are like, I don't even want to get his bike out of there. How am I going to get him out of there? People like putting shirts around their arms to just get him out.
Get him out.
I remember that being like traumatic and like it was a bad thing. So
what do you choose? A broken nose then?
I don't know. That nose thing hurt. I almost want to. Crazy itching and burning with no relief. That does sound terrible.
Yeah.
How long does that last is the question.
Yeah, I wonder.
If it's like 24 hours and it's okay, then you're good. I don't know. Maybe I'd try it. Ugh, weeks. Boo. How long does a broken nose last, though? For your life.
Yeah, like,
look like the Wicked Witch.
Do they have to like set it then? I guess.
Could.
Yeah. I think maybe if you broke it and then they set it correctly.
Yeah, if you got it redone.
Right.
Break it. They'll just break it again and fix it for you.
Yeah. Okay, last one. What's a movie or TV show you're ashamed to admit you watched? I'm gonna say watched and liked.
You're just gonna add the like.
I'm just
part.
gonna add that to it.
I don't know. That's a good one. I mean, because like sometimes you don't know. You're gonna watch a show and you're like, oh, I heard this one is good.
Yeah, but I think it almost like the thing of the question, or like what I sort of think of this question is like something you were just like, oh my God, this stupid thing, and it's on, and you watched it, and then you were like, that's pretty okay.
Ashamed to admit, because they said watch, they didn't say like.
Yeah,
though.
well, and ashamed, like I don't know what I would be ashamed to have watched, because I watch a lot of it wouldn't be like a kids show. I watch tons of kids shows, so that wouldn't shame me to watch it.
This is hard because I don't know if I'm ever ashamed to watch a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few movies that I might be a little ashamed to watch.
Right. If it came out in public, that you were. Yeah.
Anything animated. Oh, bull. You like what I have you watch out there. Come on with chat. Amazing World of Gumball is a kid's show, but actually really funny.
Amazing World of Gumball. Gumball is a great show. Love that. Mixes art styles. And so it has claymation characters and 3D characters and 2D characters. Okay, yeah, Mike Azul, that's probably actually it. Some sort of really terrible, trashy TV show, Pregnant and Teenager or whatever that one is. I think I've watched a few episodes of that and been like, all right, it's fun to watch the drama occasionally.
I just had a recent one. I'm not a big Mr. Beast fan at all, and he has the Amazon show, and I'm absolutely against watching it. But somehow, I was like, no, I don't want to watch it. And then some clip came on, and I was watching. I was like, what are you doing? No, I don't want to watch this.
So
it's pushing it down my face.
I feel like, Moonshiners, nice. This is my parents watch a lot of the Discovery Channel, live action, people gold mining and stuff like that. But the Mr. Beast stuff, I will say, they have that formula down.
Yeah, they do.
To where if it's on the TV and the kids are watching it, and I'm folding laundry and trying to get them to fold laundry, I will find myself just zoning out and watching Mr. Beast episodes. I'd be like, hey, it's not so frantic that you feel like, oh God, it's junk food, but it's just enough cuts and just enough that whoever edits those videos, he should pay them well.
You know what? Now that we start talking, I think those kind of shows, the ones that are the Bigfoot one, we found Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same clip 20 times, just cut a little different. Are they gonna find Bigfoot? Check it out after the commercial break.
You're they're never gonna find Bigfoot.
And then they come back on the other side of it. They're like, all right, we're in the forest now, and we found something that looks like some fur, but it was really just Chucky's dog, Fluffy. And at the end of it, they're like, nope, we didn't find Bigfoot. And you just wasted an hour, 2 hours.
Okay, so Severance.
Oh, yeah. Would you not be ashamed to watch? I love it.
All right. I have only watched a few episodes of Severance, but my wife has watched the first season, and how much is out of the second season. Is Severance just going to be Lost? I feel like Lost, we watched all whatever many seasons of Lost, and I feel like they would just introduce things that were just weird and then never pay them off, or never. And from what I've been hearing about my wife in season 1 and season 2 of Severance, is that oh man, is it just going to go in that direction where they don't really have any end aim of the show? It's just kind of introducing weird things for you to go, what? oh God, I got to see how they pay that or what's that. And then they just never do. I don't know. I hope it isn't that.
Hey, Lost made it the formula.
But like Lost also killed it for a lot of people too. You say like, you gotta.
I never watched Lost.
Oh, see,
so
we did with one of those.
Skip that.
That was
one.
our first big binge ever.
Really?
It came out on Netflix or something like that, and we would just watch.
I don't know.
3-hour-long episodes.
This is like the 5th time that I've seen a Severance reference from Mike Azul, so I got to do it.
He's into it. It's a good show. It's from what I've seen. It's interesting, for sure.
The From Show. I don't know what show that is.
Was that with the plane crash or not the plane crash one?
From.
Yeah. Oh, my wife watched a little bit of From. She watched it, and our next door neighbors who we moved away from, they also watched it. And I remember I came over to their house one time, and I didn't realize we were being invited over to watch the next episode of From. I thought we were just hanging out, and I was like, okay, I guess I will drink a beer and watch the show randomly in the middle of season 2 that I have no idea anything about. And they basically kicked me out of the room because I was like, this show makes no sense. Is so I was just like asking a bunch of questions, and they were like, why don't you just get out of here? Like, if you're not going to take it seriously, could you please just
the door's over there.
Yeah,
Please
exactly.
get out of
like,
here.
You know, they're like, they were talking about the lore and everything, and just everything that I saw was
How do you get invited to watch a show? Did they just think you were into it and you were like,
well,
down?
my wife was into it, right?
Okay,
And so they knew, so they were talking, and and I think my wife was just like, hey, come on over, we're hanging out, and forgot to mention or just, didn't think about it. And then drinks were had and was talking, and then it was like, okay, now it's time for the show.
Yeah, I would have been like, magic. I would have been piecing out. I was like, oh, this is a watch party for mid-season show.
Yeah, one episode randomly, 50 episodes.
Just a side note, we're not paid for this, but Pantheon season 2 is out on Netflix.
What's Pantheon?
Oh man, you got to see Pantheon, Ryan.
It sounds sci-fi.
It's really good. It's an animation. It's I guess you would call it like anime-esque. Okay. The whole like premise though is it feels Americanized in a way, but it's about basically people being digitized and put into these worlds. Like people that are about to die, they figure out how to like take and download their brains and they put them into these areas. And it's really interesting. And I don't want to spoil it, but it got canceled on like Amazon, but then Netflix picked it up, then did season 2 because everyone loved it. It's kind of it has nothing to do with what's that other animation one with the world one that where they crash land on the planet and that you showed me and you got me into. Where it's like they're all in the little pods and then they go. I think you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Scavenger's Reign.
Okay, so think Scavenger's Reign. That it was really great. Everyone loved it, and then they canceled it.
Right.
And then they brought it back. They're doing a season 2.
I heard it's still on
so
the fence.
Pantheon's similar to that. Like everyone loved it. And then they like canceled it. Now they came back and they released season 2.
Nice.
You gotta check it out.
All right, good rec. This was a good card for Rex today.
I feel like I gotta go watch now. Praise Cure. I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty good. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. It has been a long week. Been able to go to meetings, go to vacations, flying, sick Ryans.
Oh, God.
I'm tired. I think cumulatively maybe 8-ish hours of sleep over the last couple of days with getting up early and going places. It's good to be at this point, to be able to chill and hang.
Yeah, this is life in the fast lane.
Heck yeah, that's what it's like.
Can't let sickness or tiredness hold us back.
No, we cannot. We got to keep our youth by being here.
Scratching and clawing back our youth.
All right, so Microsoft's interactive AI world.
I'm interested in this. I definitely want to see this video.
All right, I'm gonna. I don't even know if. Oh yeah, there is a video. All right, we're gonna put this one on a screen. I got this new keyboard, and I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to switch between things. Okay, we are. This is good. It wasn't working earlier. So Microsoft shows progress towards real-time AI-generated game worlds. This is awesome because we've talked about it. It's also maybe scary if you're a game developer. You're doing game development. Imagine just being like, I want to play a shooter game, and I want to have a little pistol, and it's going to be in the future, but I want cool cowboy boots, a little hat, and then it just makes that game for you that you could go and play it.
There's AI is coming for every job, so be prepared.
So what this is doing is it basically generates in real time some sort of a game. Now, why is this impressive? When this came out like about a week ago, we've seen some of the Doom recreates of this, but they were saying like they made it so that this does generation longer, and that's part of what this is impressive about. Is they figured out a way to start getting this thing to work.
Well, because the Doom one, they said it's sort of like it would do it for a little while, and then at some point it just sort of petered out, right? Like it didn't know because it's doing the exact same thing.
And this is supposedly this is low res. This is how it does it at this ratio.
Oh, this is the resolution that it comes.
This has the resolution that just to be able to do it. But when you watch it and you see it.
It's like an Overwatch.
It is like an Overwatch.
Like there's your cooldown at the bottom.
Like skateboarding on something and like doing something, but it has a very like it doesn't fall apart as quick. And look how much more impressive than the Doom one that this is.
Well, it's like full 3D, right? Your
camera moves around. Like every single frame of this is being generated by AI in like real time. So you're not watching gameplay footage. You got to realize that, like, it is anticipating every freaking frame. Like what, 60 frames a second? I think this is.
And it's doing that in the large language model style of just predicting what the next frame is going to be based on the previous frame. I guess is it still doing that?
I think similar, probably way more complex than what it. But the fact it goes this long before destructing. So the implications of something like this are that if you get it to go longer, you're able to make a game that you could play with AI.
And
now they trained it off of Overwatch, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Overwatch.
This was another one.
And again, this is one of those things where Jet Set Radio. I could see this, it looks silly and low res, and who knows how it looks, but it's always that's what we said about all this AI stuff 18 months ago, 2 years ago. So in 2 years, what is this going to look like? I feel like it's gotten a lot better since that Doom video.
But this one's playable.
Because the Doom video was playable.
Wasn't it? So no, I thought it was just doing. It was showing it. So what they were mapping it to in this particular one, and what they were trying to say is that they would map the angle, and then do it based off of where you were headed. So that was what was crazy about it, is that it's like getting to the point that you're interactive with the model itself.
Right.
So it's like a kind of real-time generate as you go world model is the holy grail of the branch of AI research.
Yeah, because I mean, if you want like the holodeck and things like that, I feel like you need probably some of this as well.
Yeah,
and I do.
Oh, I see.
It's a 300 by 180 resolution.
I don't know. It's like I'm excited about it. It's like, what are we going to be prompting games in a year? Or like you said, it could be something else. You're looking around in a world and things are getting generated as you go, and you don't have to do any of the modeling or any of it.
My TikTok algorithm will just know the types of games that I think would be interesting to do and what I would like, and it would be like, hey, do you want to watch a show about that? Do you want to play a video game about that kind of thing? Yeah, I mean, I feel like it'll just be custom everything, right? It's whatever entertainment you want. And the only bad thing about that is it makes us way more siloed, because then I don't even know it. It's like, what game are you playing, Adam? Oh, I'm playing, the AI engine 342 in my own crazy world, and Ryan's playing something completely different.
And then we're never playing game. We can never talk about it. We're like, yeah, well, it's my custom little thing that I did. And
it's really awesome, but it has all these, inside jokes that you wouldn't get. And it knows it brings in my family members because it knows all about that from me. It's like so custom that it's the exact sort of language style that you want. And I mean, I could see it like, it almost seems like it would be easier to do like not multiplayer games, but big long storytelling games, right? Because then it's just characters talking.
It's going to be generic though if it's trained on other ones. I don't know. We'll see. It's a holy grail according to them.
Apparently.
All right, let's talk about this guy who's mewing over here. You know who that is?
Our buddy Sam Altman.
Oh, he's not my buddy.
No?
I'm not a Sam Altman fan, buddy.
No?
He's smarmy is what I think. That's my take on it. But he has billions of dollars, so ruin me.
I'm not super fan of any billionaires. So
yeah. So this guy, Sam Altman, number one, they were about to release GPT 4.5. I don't know if they were there, but they're like, oh, poor OpenAI, out of GPUs.
Right.
Wah, wah. And so why I'm PO'd about this is I want to buy a GPU right now, and I can't find one myself because them buying them up has jacked the price up. They're ridiculous.
I mean, they're not using 4070s.
It's
for this.
Completely drained the market right now. I think I told you my son had bought a GPU for like $1,000. And I went and I was like, that was a pretty good one. I'm going to go buy the same one. And guess how much it's selling for right now? The exact same one that he bought in November. Take a guess.
$1,500.
$2,700.
Man. And so
it's ridiculous.
Like I feel like the GPUs that they're using though are like so different, aren't they? Like aren't they just like ridiculously more powerful and crazy than like something you would put in a home computer?
It's insane. And this is where it's starting to talk about the price per tokens, and they do it based on how many tokens. And we had the whole DeepSeek discussion lately, and saying they did it for a lot cheaper. Do they need that much GPU? Now, I gotta say, ChatGPT does have some better outputs than some of the other models out there. Like I've tried a bunch of other models at this point. I guess my point right here is that we've been growing a lot and are out of GPUs. We will add tens of thousands of GPUs next week and roll it out in our plus tier. It isn't how we want it's perfect predict growth surges. So it's basically saying there's so many people using the platform, they can't process the amount of requests and growth of this huge model.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be, for a while, it's just going to be power consumption and GPUs. Who can produce the most amount of those, and who can build power generation quickest. Sort of like a Civ game at this point. It's like, what do you want? Because that's what we're trying to do with China, right? Is we're trying to say, no, China, you don't get our sweet GPUs, and that's what DeepSeek was supposed to upend, right? I don't think it has done that necessarily.
Oh, it doesn't. No,
because you still need those big flagship models to even train those types of ones, those DeepSeek models. So you're always gonna have that, but. I mean, I
don't know. They were saying that there's different ways to distill models and do different things a little bit more effectively, and you could run them more locally. I liked a comment from Mike Azul. I wanted to call this out. He said, Altman sounds like a fake name. And if you've ever played the Dead Space series, you watched me play a couple run-throughs of it. There's their main kind of priest guy on there, Altman. All praise Altman. Every time I hear him, I'm like, you damn Scientologist. Wait, no, it's not what was he? Not Scientologist. There's a name for their religion in the game.
Religion.
I don't know. You'd have to look it up online. I'm not gonna do it right here. I should probably look it up. Actually, I'm gonna look it up just to see what it was.
It was something like Scientology, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm looking it up right now. What is it called? Church of Unitology.
Unitology.
Damn Unitologist. Oh, maybe he's making the Dead Space. Oh my God,
we're all part of Dead Space lore. That's great.
This is exactly what this is. He's making the new marker. This is the AI marker. All right. This is a good question too. So, if Ryan and I took a couple notes of bullet points of some questions about this.
Okay.
So, this one was a good one for me because what is it going to do to artists and designers? So let's just put this in perspective. You're like, you need some new computer to do your art. Oh, AI, you don't need to do any more art, Ryan. You just use that old crappy computer because Sam Altman, the unitologist, needs his sweet like GPUs so that you can prompt stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
what's it going to do to that?
You know, I feel like we went through this a couple of years ago with cryptocurrency, right? Mining for crypto, and nobody could buy a GPU because they were all getting bought up by people mining crypto. And that still happens. So they're still getting done by that. Maybe not as, as heavy as they were before. But like, so now you have AI taking GPUs and crypto taking GPUs. And you're like, oh man, where's the normal person get his stuff? I still think like if you like a 4070 is not running any AI stuff. No. Like even those like low 4080 or something like that, or even those new like what are we up to?
Is the baseline. I think.
Are we up to 50? Are we up to the 5,000?
Oh yeah, we're in the 5,000. It's like 5090s.
So I don't think those can run AI like models. They can run AI models.
Yeah, they can do that. You can build it up and do that. That's like they have an AI processing thing in it. That there was a rush on 4090s, and the reason why is that the 5090s have an AI processing thing that's in them, and then people were disabling it just so they could get the full processing on the 5090. It was running at the level of a 4090 essentially. And so people were like nuts to buying this ridiculously power hungry thing. Let's go like get the other market, and it rose up the other market. Man.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks when there are hardware shortages and the richest people are the only ones that can sort of get their hands on them. I do know it when Do GPUs, I know they have to do with like running video games quickly, right? And they probably have a little bit to do with sort of high-end After Effects, like video editing, and likely animation too, right? Like doing 3D animation and things like that. But I think for like the most part, it's like the RAM that you have is like just as important as some of that. It feels like it's mostly for video games.
It's a combination of it and the technology that it runs inside of it and the kind of processing it have. It's like the cores inside of that, the amount of processing, and then the actual RAM that it has in the GPU itself. Right. I mean, there's a lot of benefit to having these different kind of power things, and that's why you have to get the higher series to get some of the AI processing parts out of there to spit things out at any kind of reasonable rate to be able to do a lot of the work.
And I mean, besides just having tech lust like you do, I mean, couldn't you probably just get away with, a 3070 in your
I have a 3070 right in I have a 4070 we're running on this camera right now, and a 3070 on the other one right now. I am at that right now.
And they're not.
I want to run my own model. I'm gonna get the DeepSeek model. Ooh. And I wanna run it. You can download that one. I think that would be fun. See what I can create.
Tear it apart and let it tell you about Tiananmen Square as much as you want.
We'll see what I can make it do. I don't know if it has that in there. Anyways, I guess my takeaway with this one is that I'm just a little bit bummed right now because I am in a building of my computer. Because here's my challenge: is that Windows is going away. As far as Windows 10, and that all of this hardware is basically being deprecated in October of 2025 this year.
Yep.
And so Microsoft has been basically being like, yep, if you don't have the right hardware in your machine and it's antiquated, nuts to you, because we're going all in on all this other hardware, which is a good thing from a security lens, but it also enables their Copilot and all the future of what they're trying to do with AI. And so long story short, like the computers that I'm running are fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're old for sure. But I can't update to Windows 11.
You're not just going to put Linux?
Actually, that's a great question, because I think I am. On the one that streams, the one that you're watching us right now on, I'm probably gonna put a flavor of Linux on it because all I needed to do is take an input of our camera feed and run OBS,
Right.
which I could do both. So I'm gonna upgrade that one to Linux. I just got to make sure I don't do it and like screw up the show to where I can't actually stream the show.
You have to do it like one day after the show, so you
Yes.
have 13 days to figure it out.
So I'm going to probably update that one, but the one we do our headliner show on, I want to update. So I brought my son's older computer off of him. That's what we're streaming on in this room right here. And this is my backup. This is what we're on is our backup double drop down stream, which works pretty good. You know, we have a couple cameras on it, but to go the full studio, I wanted to build the full studio to the specs and everything that I want and get a sweet new machine.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really hard.
It's going to be.
GPUs
Do we think that that's ever going to go away? Because like AI is only going to get more hungry for these types of things. There's only going to be more companies, and they just want to do more compute in this.
Quantum computing.
Is it ever going to? That's a whole different thing, isn't it? Like I always heard that was, but you know. But also, if there's tons of demand for it, like NVIDIA is not going to be the only one doing it, right? Like the other people have got to see that.
There's the
AMD, right?
I actually was looking at those models, but those are also very high cost.
Sure.
Anyways, we spent a lot of time on that one, but I mean, it just gets me mad because I know I've seen those things go up. I want to hear more about what your experience was with tech, creativity, and rides. Can I look something up while you're talking? Is there something to like find?
Yeah, maybe you want to look up some of these rides so we can look at them.
So you get us primed, and as you talk about it, I'm going to go try to find them, and then we'll switch over to that cam.
So in the last week, we went to Universal Studios in Hollywood, California, and Hollywood. And, you know, I feel like when we went, you know, gosh, rides have changed so much from when I was a kid, right? Like,
name a cool one. What was a good one that you did?
So maybe look up like the Super Mario, like the Mario Kart ride. Is one of them. Like I would look up the Harry Potter ride is a good one. Well, so anyway. So I feel like rides back in the day were like roller coasters, right?
Yeah.
Like you had a roller coaster and you put kids in it and, you know, adults, and you might have to like maybe just look up like a YouTube video because they're not going to show you. They're not going to show you their whole ride, but somebody will have recorded it. And then I feel like what they decided was that there was one. It took too long to get people through a roller coaster, you know, ride. Because you can only basically do one, and then it's got to stop, and you got to let everyone out, and then you got to let people in, and maybe it's 90 seconds or something like that, right? Okay. But it's just like when you have tens of thousands of people, you just can't get them through enough. And I remember like you and I went to like Elitch's or whatever in Denver, I think for our like senior year of high school or something. And we were like, yay, what am I going to do? Go on, like you could spend all day there and go on 3 rides, you know? And I felt like crap because you're like, I spent all this money. And so I did that. So then their next evolution was like, well, pay to go to the front of the line. Right. But then if everyone's just paying to go to the front of the line, then what's the purpose of that? And so I feel like there was a sort of thing in like the 90s or early 2000s where they did, you remember 5D experiences?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Where like the chair would like spray you with air behind you and you'd have a big scene and then bubbles would like fall down or whatever. Or there would be, yeah, you know, maybe your seat would like rumble a little bit during parts of the thing. And that was kind of like, see, it's sort of a ride, but we can cram 150 people in this little theater, show them a 2-minute show, and then be out of there and then have the next series of people come into there. And it was really interesting going through all of Universal because I feel like Universal has the full spectrum of where it like started to the very most high end version of all of this. So it still has the little 5D theater where Kung Fu Panda, you know, rumbles your seat and does like blows air at you and things like that, right? The very sort of lowest end. And then I feel like there's also the version that got a little bit better where you're in like a seat or a cart with a bunch of people.
You're in a cart now.
So you're in a cart, right? And you're in the cart and there's like a screen, a bubble screen in front of you. And you're moving and tilting and doing stuff while the screen. So it sort of feels like you're on a roller coaster, but then it's just a crazy movie playing. And that what I say is like, there's a Simpsons one. There's a Simpsons Land in Universal Studios, which is fun. They have Moe's that you can go and get a Duff beer at and buy a giant pink donut and all the fun stuff. I feel like the Simpsons ride was like my least favorite of all of the rides. It's like too frenetic and it didn't make sense. And the screen was poorly rendered, the whole thing. And so there's sort of that version of it, right? Where you're just like, you're in a cart and that's all. Now, I feel like the second sort of layer version of that is they have one that's like, it's called Transformers. And you go through the Transformers one and it's sort of the same. You're like sitting in a cart and it's shaking you around, but there are not only screens there showing you things, but then there's also things in real life, sort of like this one, right?
Where you're like, is this like, are we seeing VR right now? Is this like VR stuff happening?
No. So what you're seeing is sort of the wimpy version of this ride in the sense that like, all you're seeing is the real life stuff and the video screens, right?
Okay.
But what the Mario Kart ride does is it uses AR glasses. See those things that the people have?
The little hats on it.
And like it has a screen, it has a big blank screen, and then, you know, it's doing the thing that usually sucks in all rides. You know, the rides where like you have a little shooter gun and it shoots a tiny laser and you're trying to hit little targets around the thing. And like half the time it doesn't freaking work. And, you know, you don't even know where you're shooting and then you get some score at the end, right?
Yeah.
What this one does is it does it in a better way where the AR that's done over the top is all the other Mario Kart racers. And so Princess Peach and Toad. God, I'm too
animated there.
Animated. I have to move this over. So Mario and Toad and everything are racing around, and in your VR goggle or in your AR goggles, you look down and you have a certain amount of shells that you can shoot, and you're gaining coins. And so you're shooting things and you're seeing stuff off to the side, and you see everyone else's shells. And so not only do you get like the kind of, hey, this is a cool like area that I'm in that has all the poofy clouds and it has Bowser's castle and all of that stuff, but then you're also playing an AR game inside of it and you're competing with everyone.
Rainbow Road.
And you're going onto Rainbow Road and you're doing all the stuff, right? I would say the only bad thing is like every time I did this, I was like so concentrated on shooting the things and doing the stuff is like.
Did this look way more epic? Do you remember any of this?
I like hardly remember any of this because you have all these cars going around and there's things flying.
I want to see the VR version of this.
Like
one.
I don't know how cool. I don't know how you would do that though.
Put your little glasses.
Yeah, you'd
in
have
it.
to like cram your camera next to your face or something and do it. But so that was like that was basically one of the new hotness, right? It was like this Mario one. And I feel like it was interesting, you know, because it does the thing where it has some technology, right? It has some like interesting parts of that, but it still has sort of a ride mentality of you're not like swooping down, or there's no like thrill in that way, but it's more like, hey, you're playing Mario Kart and you're spinning out and things like that, and you're getting points and stuff. So like it was pretty neat. Oh yeah, see, okay, yeah, show that one because that is showing.
Somebody put their camera in this one, maybe. So that's
And like, it looks like crap on this, but it looks better in real life, So there's like all the cars are running around and you're shooting them and they're reacting.
Yeah, it was
to
good
everyone.
to watch it without anything, because now you're like seeing.
And wherever you look, something is happening, right? There's cars driving or there's guys on.
And that thing crushed it. I remember when that went down before. I was like, what was it doing?
Yeah, and parts of the real life set interact with the AR stuff. Like, it's neat. And I would say, Universal has learned a lot from Disney in the sense that, like, waiting for the ride is just as important as going on the ride. Because how long do you spend in the ride? 3 minutes? How long do you spend waiting for that freaking ride? 45 minutes?
Yeah.
And so, like, going through the Mario one, like, you start out and it's all sort of Mario painterly style with Mario.
Do you have your goggles
stuff.
on at that point?
Nope. Like, you only get that in the thing. And then you're walking through and then you go into Bowser's castle. And so it has like all sorts of just real life things that you would see in like the Bowser world. Like, it's just Mario in general. And I don't know. It was super fun. It like, that was, I felt like a really good.
Ryan just relived his trip.
Totally. And then I would say the only other one that is sort of even a different way that is not so much like interactive, but the Harry Potter one is like the same thing. You're going through the Harry Potter castle at the beginning to get into the ride, and it has all the cool paintings on the wall that move and talk to each other about stuff. So you're sort of waiting in line and you're hearing them argue about Harry Potter and stuff. And then the characters show up on little AR screens. Well, not AR, but like where it's almost like holograms of them in scenes. And so you're in
you gotta make the wait
totally
awesome.
That's what I feel like they've learned a lot, because they didn't used to do any of that. And then
that's a good question. How did they sanitize the goggles?
Well, so I know, like, so when you take off the goggles, right, it's sort of a 2-part system. There's a hat that's the Mario hat, and that you get outside, like right before you're about to go into the thing, and you put that on. And then the actual VR or AR goggles are attached to the ride, and they sort of magnetize onto the front. And so then you unmagnetize them at the end, and then you take your goggles and you put them in a thing. Now, when you get the goggles again, sometimes they're like wet. And so I think what they do is they must put them in some kind of giant washer or something, or that sprays them. But they also didn't smell like antiseptic, because that's what I thought I was like, oh, they're washing them down with like alcohol or something. But that didn't seem to be the case. But yeah, you don't see
it was just sweat, Ryan.
It was just sweat. It was just straight
nasty
up
sweat. You know what's interesting about what you described is, I was thinking, like, the future of the rides they just are going to be like, here's your sweet goggles, or you like have to buy your goggles to go on every ride as you go in. And then you go through a thing and you push a button, or you get a fast charge pass to fast charge your goggles for this next portion.
Well, but I feel like the worst ones are the ones that rely completely on screens. Right? Yeah. The best ones are the ones that do like a blending of screens.
It's the mix of it all.
And like real life, because that's what the Harry Potter one does. It like there's parts of it where you're on the Quidditch field and you're sort of it's like you're in a big roller coaster like chair, like 4 of you.
Yeah.
And then it sort of sweeps you up. And then it'll be like, we're on the Quidditch field, and it's just a screen in front of you, and you're doing that. And then it'll be like, whoosh, and now we're out, and now we're in the castle, and the castle is real, and you're sort of going through the castle, and there's big animatronic, dragons or whatever. And then now more flying through the castle with the screen, and so it sort of like goes back and forth. I think it also helps the people. If you have sort of a little bit of motion sickness for those types of things, you're not just like in a virtual world the entire time. You're sort of in and out a little bit. So
that sounds like an amazing experience. You had a fun time. Do you know what's funny? It's like a quick little anecdote about those rides that are that way. When the kids were little, we went to it was Disneyland or somewhere. I think it was SeaWorld actually. And we went into one of those rides and I was like, it was really, really, really hot out.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going to go to Antarctica. We're getting on the thing. And just like you described, there was this big long line and like, it looked like it was packing and all these other things are going in. And then we had and they're like, what? We're going on a plane? We're going somewhere? I'm like, yeah, we got to go over to Antarctica, kids. Because they were young. They were probably like 7 and 5.
Right.
And so we got into that ride. It was a 5D ride, essentially. Nice. And then it goes in there and it starts like blowing air and you're like in this helicopter in this plane and it starts taking off and it looks like you go to Antarctica. And then like the other side of it opens. And then they're like blowing air, makes it super cold, and it looks like you're there. And we're like, we're at they were totally convinced that we went all the way to Antarctica. So
kids are dumb.
But the idea that they mix both of those together, like you're like in this ride, you get to this other one, and then you're in. It was pretty amazing.
I know. There was a ride called The Secret Life of Pets or something.
Which
is a movie, and the whole beginning of the ride, I thought the line for the ride was the ride.
Oh, what?
Because like the line to get into the ride is you're going through the apartment and like there's animatronic things talking, there's screens everywhere telling you little stories about stuff.
That's good.
And I was like, maybe this is just the ride. Maybe like you're sort of walking through a set of this thing. And then at some point you get to the actual ride where you know, you're in the car. And I was like, sweet. That seemed
they
great.
made it even better.
Totally.
Well, it's like that so it makes it more immersive, I think, is what we were putting in the notes, is that like that kind of storytelling of being able to put both of those elements together is going to be.
I'm the type of person that I'm fine with roller coasters, right? I'm fine with the big drops and everything, but like my oldest son, he's not cool with that. Like he doesn't want to go on those types of things. And so if the only thing that, you know, parks were delivering was giant roller coasters, like we probably wouldn't go to any of those. So it's almost like he's way more excited to go on those types of rides. You know, he will actually go on them as opposed to, you know, like a thing with a 200-foot drop.
Yeah, I don't know. I get motion sick. Some kids are into it though. I remember taking Carson to a ride and he went on this big old thing at Elitch's and he like got off and he threw up and I was like, you done with the rides? He's like, nope, I'm good. And then gets right back on the damn thing. But yeah, I get you.
I can't do spinny rides anymore. I can't do spinny rides. I can do drop rides and I can do upside down rides, but nothing with spins.
All right, who wants to see Unitree B2W?
This is not the robot that I saw, so this will be interesting.
Oh, right. Okay, so we're about to. Ryan and I have been looking at various robots. Remember what was the one we looked at? It was like it wasn't even a robot. It was like flesh that was doing something like a little bit wild. Remember that? It was like animated or it was weird.
Yeah.
So months ago, we watched some robot that was like running through the forest and it looked really scary.
Right,
and it did some things.
It was doing backflips and things like that.
And so I found this video and I think it may be a little bit older, but I found it just now. So it's new to me. And I watched it and I was like, I'm starting to get a little bit like Terminator scared.
Right.
Like that's where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the Chinese ones I think that they've been developing. Let's just watch this and talk over what you see here.
Yeah.
So
like it sort of looks like those Boston Dynamics.
It
robots,
does, but
right?
like the kinds of things that it is doing.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Like down the hill.
That is like freaking me out. Like think about like hundreds of those like coming at you
with
like,
turrets mounted on the top.
Yeah, like spinning around on your corpse. It would be terrible. Like, going into the water.
You're like fine, we're just going through the water.
Look at that. It's like at Mach speed. That's scary.
Yeah, well, I feel like this one feels a lot more agile.
Oh my god! Like look at the terrain that it's going on. Now there's a hilarious thing
doing 180s. Boom.
Yeah, it's like gonna be a skater.
Like X Games.
I think this is like similar to one of the things that we saw before. Look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, how come they haven't found like real Is it these are too expensive at this point?
What do you mean? People are buying these. There's things that they do with this now. That freaks me out. That looks when it's creepy. Standing. It just looks like no, don't do. Now here's this. There's a part that's really funny. Oh man, that little like jump and then
like catching itself.
Yeah. Okay. If you buy these things, I guarantee this is what's going to happen. They're going to show it in just a second here. It's quite hilarious. And
it's carrying. I mean, 40
wait,
pounds?
This is gonna be our future. Get on your little robot.
It's the beginning of the Wally world.
Oh
right?
my god,
it's just roaming around for me.
It's like your little sweet skate robot.
Nice.
I'm telling you. Tell me this. Okay, put AI in this thing. Extreme testing, no imitation. Oh my god, I'm telling you.
But it's like I'm trying to think what industries would want to use a tiny, super athletic sort of or agile robot like that. Like
you're thinking maybe the wrong way. Is that they're saying like we're pushing this thing to the extremes.
Yeah.
Now let's start to think about like applications for something that can go on these kind of trains. So first you think military, like you could jump in or like sneak into areas. You could like kill things.
Totally.
You could like have
surveillance.
Right. Think about other things. Like what if you were going to like start to go and do some sort of what would you call it, like a excavation, or you had to go and find oil, or do something that you had to go in some crazy terrain that you normally had to send a whole bunch of people in. It was going to be a big deal. And now you get to say, hey, go do your thing, go look over here, or go check this dangerous like thing that normally we'd put people into.
Right.
And you're more agile and you can get in there and you could get out and get the data.
And I guess if you want like robots in your house, right, or robots doing normal human things, like it's got to be pretty agile, right? Like you don't want it bumping into things. You don't want it like getting knocked over and it can't even like get back up, or it can't even, it feels like it needs to be agile just to even live in the world that we live in, right? With ice and
all of the things that you just saw.
All the things that you just saw. Like, so if I want a robot butler, like it probably isn't just going to be a humanoid robot butler that is like stiffly walking around my house. Like it needs to be a thing that like I say, go and get the groceries out of the car, and my garage is trashed and it has to walk around the edge of the garage, like the boxes in the garage, and then jump over this one thing at the end and then get the groceries and bring it over that. Like it's going to have to do all those real life things. And to do that,
you're
it's
like,
going to need
maybe in your house, right? Has to go through the maze to get to the groceries.
It does. It will have to.
I don't know, chat. You want a robot in your house that could help you out?
Yeah. So you were saying that there was like a $13,000 robot,
humanoid one. It looks very robot. Humanoid.
And what does that one do?
So it would be like an assistant where you could so you see these armed ones where you can say like, okay, I'm gonna put your arm here and I'm gonna put your arm here, or do this thing, and then it'll like repeat that action over and over. So like if you're doing some repetitive task,
okay,
or if you're trying to like get it to like be next to you to like help you do certain things, you can be like, hey, has some eyes on it, can you go get this from the counter, or could you go get this thing? Like, so part of it's more you'd have to have a little bit of programming abilities. I don't know how you do that, but there it's like the cooking assistant, and the cleaner assistant.
Totally. Because I feel like if you could tell me that there was a $13,000 robot that would do the dishes, do the laundry, vacuum the house, and maybe cook simple meals, I feel like I could find $13,000.
You're gonna buy it
for something like that. I mean, that takes off like so much. Like, think how many hours a day that you do doing those like 4 things, and you'd be like, great. Now somebody else can go make eggs for the kids, in the morning, and the kids and I can hang out, as opposed to like me making eggs for them every single morning.
And then I can see some headlines now. It's like, cook robot accidentally kills owner,
severs arm,
because you're like, feed me robot. It's like crushing its hand down your throat on accident.
Well, and that's why all these robot stuff, like, it's going to go way slower than all the AI stuff, right? Because I feel like AI stuff, it's all computer based. It doesn't have to live in the real world. It's why self-driving cars has taken forever in there, which I didn't get to go in one, but I saw lots of Waymo self-driving cars in Los Angeles when we were there, just driving people around.
There was did you see what was that show that had the programmers that were making apps? It was it Silicon Valley?
Yep.
The show, and then he gets stuck in a Waymo or something's going around. Oh, there was a real thing that just happened. Did you see that one?
Wasn't it like he was trying to drop him off at the airport or something?
Yeah, but he got stuck in a circle and it just kept circling.
He had to like call the company and be like,
this thing is messed up, y'all. This is not good. Man, it's good to remind ourselves. It's like we're watching Terminator in real time,
and we're just like laughing about it. And like, it's so funny.
Mate. The thing that I think that Terminator does is it's like one single hive mind that controls it all. Well, like I don't know. Maybe individual Terminators do their own thing, but it's still controlled by.
Right.
I'm just thinking we might have really bad robots
like
fighting other robots.
Open source Terminators.
I mean, what if it gets in the wrong hands and somebody creates like an assassination robot?
Yeah.
And you can't like kill it and things like that.
Totally.
I heard that some people in security are getting some of those robots by Boston Dynamics and like outfitting it for like camera work outside of their things, and it does patrols and things.
Man, did you hear there's a new app that you can hire? It's like Uber, but you can hire a bodyguard, an armed bodyguard.
No.
So you just go like, I'm going to this place and I feel like I'm going to the club and I feel like I need an armed bodyguard. I'll just Uber it up and get this armed bodyguard to follow me around.
I gotta like, what's the name on that? Like armed bodyguard? It's gotta be something.
Something weird.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way that could go wrong. I'm just going to get a bunch of militia guys or something on that. And
yeah, you have
trigger happy militia guys.
The off-brand version of it would be hilarious. Okay, so future growth. Yeah, RoboCop.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the actual RoboCop. I didn't even think about that one. All right. The growth of video games in the future. So Ryan and I have been working on some game work, and you've seen this, and so we're not going to get into the game work yet. I guess we could get a thing to wipe that out because you're going to have to use this in that spot. So why don't you grab another one of those? All right. So what I'm going to talk about is Godot, and Godot is spelled Godot, and Ryan and I had been talking about this for a while, and we even debated Godot like early on when we were thinking like, do we want to just build our original game in Godot? Like, is that the right... Here, I have a trash can over here.
Can I make it in the trash can now?
Oh, so close. That was terrible. Two bad ones. Okay. So here's the story. Godot is a open source platform for game development, and there's gamers out there, and it's on version 4 right now.
Okay.
And so what had happened is that there's platforms that are called like Unity or the Unreal Engine or Game Maker, and there's a bunch of other like company built systems that game engines that you could build your game on, or these
GB Studio is one of them.
It is. Now that one's open source, or at least it's free at this point. And so what was interesting is that Unity for a long time was like a big one, and of course Unreal and whatnot, and Game Maker. And so as we were going, we talked about this a little bit last time, but I was trying to make a decision, and I was like, should I go to Game Maker because there's these tiers, and you have to buy this, and then you could do this, but you could do this one for free, but if you get it big enough, then you buy this, and then you can do this. And I was like really debating it hard because Game Maker could do 2D games, and then like Unity you could do 2D games, but like it really wasn't built for that. And I finally got to the point where I was like, man, Godot is free. I can download it right this second and just start playing with it. Like I don't have to go and like worry about some of these next step level things. And so after a lot of research, I was like, Ryan, we're going to do Godot, or at least we're going to learn it. We're going to go play with it. We're going to see how it's going to come out. And there's a guy named Braxies, and I feel like I want to show at least his video for a second.
Sure.
And I don't know if this would like. I don't want him to. What do you call it? Us. DMCS on the DM. But let's watch just a minute of what he has to say about this. So if you don't know who Braxies is, let me talk this up. So Braxies is a YouTuber. And what he did is, and you're not seeing it yet, but we're going to show it in a second. So he came out years ago making these amazing Unity videos, how to be a developer in Unity. And he put like 300 videos out online. Got huge, had a community he built about it. He's from the Netherlands, really big deal. And people loved it because he did great videos. And he was like, I really want to push the game industry forward. Very smart guy. And he got into it so far that he finally was like producing videos, had a studio and all this other stuff. And he's like, I got to take a break from it. Like, I just can't do it anymore. He was producing too many videos. And it was like he wanted to try some new things in life. And so he had this video where he's like, this is it. I'm quitting YouTube, essentially. He's like, we're leaving all this other stuff up. Discord's out there. It's fine. You could do the thing. Watch our videos. We love you guys. We're going to go and do something else. So a lot of people in industry that were loving on him and everything, they kept him subscribed on their channel. There's millions of views on a lot of his Unity videos. And he just went dark for a while. Mm-hmm. And so within the last year, he came back. It was like 3 to 4 years later. And he's like, all right, coming back. And so he talks about why he came back. And so I want to watch a little bit of why he came back. And let's see here. So he was talking about the toxic culture that had been created over these last few years. So Unity made a big choice of like, now if you sell a certain amount of games, you have to pay us a certain royalty.
Right.
And now if you do this, it's going to cost this. And what he was basically saying is that, man, this sucks if you're like wanting to get into the industry and like now you have to think about all this other crap.
Yeah.
And so he said, I really started, like I wasn't into Godot at the thing. He's like, I played with it a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal at the point. I didn't feel like I could do the things that I needed to do in a gaming system. And then he got to Godot 4 and he started playing with it and he's like, I was really impressed. And he's like, I think this thing could be a thing that people could leverage. So let's just like see a little minute of his video. And then hear what he has to say, and then we'll have a little discussion about it. So this is Braxies.
Let me explain. I've long been a huge fan of Blender. If you don't know, Blender is an incredibly powerful and now very popular 3D graphics tool. It has capabilities in modeling, sculpting, UV mapping, hugely powerful rendering, and the list just goes on. And the thing about Blender is that it's 100% free.
He has bits.
he does bits.
When I started using Blender, it was still pretty small, and not even close to
Is that him
comparing to
stealing
the
a
mighty
blender?
industry
Is that what the bit
standard
was?
Autodesk suite.
Yeah.
But since then, it has become
free.
a huge contender in the world of 3D
This is
graphics,
Blender.
preferred by
Free.
many professionals as well. But how can something that is free ever compete with a hugely complicated software suite that costs thousands of dollars in subscription fees? Well, at least part of the answer is that Blender is what we call free and open source software, also known as FOSS. This means that instead of a company owning and controlling the software with a private codebase, the software is publicly owned and has a public and open codebase that anyone can access and contribute to. If you don't like something about the software or you would like to add a feature to it, you can simply download a copy of it and modify it to suit your needs. And then, if you like the result, you can re-upload it to see if other people would find it useful too, perhaps merging your changes into the main program. One of the great benefits of this is that it helps ensure that the software development is driven by the needs of the people who use it. It's a hugely democratic way of organizing development. On top of this, open source makes it possible to utilize volunteer work and donations to fund development. This means that the software is free from ties to any single entity and makes it possible for anyone to use it without having to pay subscription fees or owing away part of their revenue. And open source is actually not as niche as you might think. Linux, for example, went from a small hobbyist tool in the early 90s to powering enterprise server systems. Also, so many of the completely mainstream products of our time are built on top of Linux, such as software for cars, televisions, and all Android phones. It also powers most of the internet and the world's stock exchanges. So open source is already an integral part of the digital world we live in today. Now, I mentioned that I started making games when I was still very young, but looking back, it feels like the industry was as well. In just the past decade, third-party engines like Unity and Unreal have become huge and industry standard. A big difference from before, where game studios would develop and use their own in-house engines. Also, indie development has gone from something that very few people even knew about to a huge community where hobbyists and professionals alike publish successful game titles, largely because of how accessible these third-party engines have become. And the game industry as a whole has become the largest entertainment industry in the world, far surpassing music and movies put together. Now, this is a lot of change, and not in a lot of time. And while huge growth like this, of course, creates issues, I think it's important to remember that it also brings a lot of positives. Perhaps most importantly, making games has never been more accessible than it is now. And also, large open source projects like a modern game engine require a lot of manpower to develop, something that wouldn't have been possible with the small game dev communities of just 10 years ago. In fact, just before taking a break from game dev, I was aware of a few open source initiatives, but I didn't think that they were viable alternatives to commercial engines. But holy wow, a lot has happened since to convince me otherwise.
All right, just going to pause right there. I like the conversation on open source. And like the Linux thing, I don't know how much you know about Linux and the underground. Like, it is cool because you don't have to license it. That it underpins a lot of what we do today.
Yeah.
So, Linux is a great example. And I've even been dabbling more in leveraging Linux. And even like we talked about it tonight, like I could probably use parts of it. I have a Linux machine right behind me. It actually makes that little smiley face turn on. It's grabbing power from a Linux laptop that I have running back there.
Okay.
It does some stuff on the show. But what I like what he's getting at here is that it wasn't as viable maybe to think about using it for enterprise kind of things. And we're starting to see that industry continue to grow. I like the idea that you can say, hey, I need this thing, and somebody goes and develops a part of it. But there's a big enough a community that also supports it. Like GB Studio, for example, a lot of my questions are answered by the community folks.
Sure.
Like it's out there and it's for free.
Totally. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the times the reason that people stick with, I'm sure, Unity or what's the other big one? Unreal.
Unreal's another one, yeah.
Is legacy knowledge of it, right? Like they do it because tons of people know that stuff. When you're hiring people, you're like, oh god, we're an Unreal house, and so if you know Unreal, like. So I feel like when you're starting with something brand new, like, that feels like a totally viable way to do it.
100%. Like, and I think you get like locked in. It's like with you and Adobe, maybe. Totally. Like, there's probably some other things that are out there that you could use. I'm not saying to use GIMP, but sure. I mean, maybe.
Right.
So let's just hear his run through on Godot, and this is why I kind of got convinced. I found this after I decided to go to Godot.
And huge props to the game dev community for making that happen. First of all, a bunch of new engines have popped up. And just like with Blender, previously niche software is starting to gain massive followings, with many contributing their time and donating to hire full-time developers. The largest example of this being Godot. Godot is a free and fully open source game engine that a lot of developers have recently turned to. And the timing really couldn't be better for this. Godot has actually been around for a while, but in March last year, Godot 4 was released, which was a huge rewrite of the engine, in my eyes making it a great choice for a lot of game projects. And of course, Godot is now riding on a wave of new users, developers, and a huge influx of donations to the Godot Development Fund. I've been toying around with it for the past few months, and I've been, loving it. While many parts of the engine of course have a ways to go, it is overall much further than I was expecting. And perhaps more importantly for me, it forced me to learn new things, and reminded me of why I fell in love with making games in the first place. Now, as for the title of this video, I'm of course in no position to predict the future of the huge industry that now is game development. But I do think that part of making that future the best that it can be is to realize just that. Game development is huge now. And while this of course brings a lot of negatives, it also means that there are more game developers than ever before, who all share a love for the same thing. And that perhaps a part of this future is software that is open source, democratically owned and community funded. Now I want to be totally clear here. I am by no means encouraging you to stop using third-party engines like Unity, Unreal, or GameMaker. Nor am I saying that you should all use Godot, or any other open source engine for that matter. I've been using Unity for many years and made well over...
I think that's enough from his thing, but so we posted this guy on our channel. If you're interested on our Discord to kind of hear about it, watch the full video. Braxies he's great to watch. Yeah. I watch a lot of his stuff. I think it's like the timing sometimes. Like GB Studio, we got into it, started getting like a little bit more of that support. It got a little bit better. I feel like that's why I got gravitated towards Godot, because I was feeling that outside. Mm-hmm. And it's at a point where it's maybe not perfect, but it's growing. Yeah. He's doing 3D games in there.
Right. Well, and I saw that it was like it has a dedicated 2D engine though too, right?
They were saying that this one was even cooler because of that. They said like some of the other platforms didn't have that.
Right. Because I feel like ours is probably going to be 2D if I had to guess, but maybe not.
I was thinking like it could be cool to do 2.5D.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things. So this guy has a lot of videos, and we're not looking at him right now. But I was gonna see if there was a quick one where I could pull up like a Godot one that he's recently done. I may not be able to find one really quick, but one of the things that I liked about Godot, and we can just kind of talk this out a little bit, is that there was one of his engines, or one of the things that in GB Studio, when you wanted to build a world, you would build it in a GIF, right? Mm-hmm. Or not or a PNG file, and you would put the file in there.
Right.
And then we would layer over the top squares, right? Mm-hmm. Well, oh my God, I watched how tile development looks in the 2D version of this. You can load the tiles in. There's particle effects, and there's all these other things you can do on that. But you can then in the game engine lay out tile-based maps. One of the challenges with GB Studio was if you everything had to be a perfect square. Mm-hmm. Well, in this one you can adjust these points, and so let's say there was something that was a square, but then you had a little rope bridge that kind of goes in and under between 2 points. You could adjust it so it just goes over the rope, and he kind of dips down inside of that.
Right.
And then you can have certain physics on each of those blocks and types. So if you step on the bridge, it kind of bounces around. Right. I feel like there's a huge world out there. Now, of course, there's a coding thing we have to figure out. Mm-hmm. But they made it based off of some Python code, and you know what? If we're gonna do this, we're gonna have to learn some code. I had to learn code even on GB Studio, no matter what.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
I'm just curious, your thoughts so far. I mean, what are you thinking when we talk about this?
I mean, I feel like open source stuff has come a long way, with just more people being able to contribute to those things, and it being easier to download, and
Hi, my name
more
is
people interested in creating game development, then I feel like if you're starting out with something brand new, you may as well try the open source one if it's good enough. If we were making some AAA game, there might be some things where you're like, just it can't do these things as well as we need. But you're like, we're not. We're making a small game with a 2-person studio, part-time, and so we're like, okay, it feels like it would probably be perfectly good for that.
So that's what I'm hoping for, and so I found one of his videos, and he was showing how the interface works here, so you can kind of get an idea. So if you were doing some of the art for this, what you have in there is like a tile map on the side. So he's basically going through it and saying you can have all these tiles, and then you can group certain tiles to say you don't have to go and get that tree right there. You can say like this whole thing is a tile of like the top of the tree. So it's those 9 blocks. So if you go use it and you drop the tree on there, it just does all the 9 blocks.
Right.
So it still is tile based. And so he's basically explaining like some of them you want to keep separate because you might want those trees to get larger or bigger or something like that. So you take those things and then you paint them onto the grid up top. And so he's explaining some of the different areas. And so this is where we can look at some of the videos. The series I got you and got us is we should look at it. But look at that. He's basically like, all right, let's just go build this world like you wanted to do all along. You're like, we need to test this. Like, let's put these on there. Let's do these things and let's build this world.
Right.
And there's a whole, and so I already have, based off my watch of the other videos, can start to understand like, oh my God, I could see how it all comes together because you could build these worlds and these scenes and these next steps and how this all comes together. And so you could see that little like rope bridge right there. And that's where I came up with the example. So he's going to like talk about it a little bit about how you can like quickly set up a world. So that looks like a pretty legit platforming world, like fairly quick.
Yeah.
So if you start to think in that same like block tile, let's scrub a little bit forward here and see if we can get to the point. Okay, this is perfect point. So he's going in and he's adjusting the points to say this is where the hit
I see.
is
nice.
on that.
Right.
So that when you, and so he has to adjust it so they all kind of like, you don't get snagged on like a little piece of it.
Edge.
But man, how dynamic is that more? And that's why, and so he was showing like, you could go down that bridge and see how it kind of like dips down a little bit.
Oh, totally. That's great.
So he goes on in this video, and this is one of his big ones about it. But I think they were showing. Oh, we're not going to watch that. I don't know who that guy was. He's very excited.
Giving me more income.
All right, I wanted to show you the physics part. I'm glad I didn't go over to it again. All right, so he was talking about enemies in a little bit. I know we're not seeing it yet, but I wanted to see the physics side of it. All right, let's watch a little end of his game. I think this will be fun to watch. So you kind of got a little bit of a vibe of it, and so he's showed how. Well, we'll see if he plays it. It's like he's talking about music at this stage. So first of all, it looks cool. What you see on there.
Right.
He has like the different levels, like almost that underworld over it. They said like, here's the sprite, and so like he's sitting there, kind of like bouncing.
Totally.
And then when he turns around, I watched a little bit of how you do some of the code pieces of that. I'm just anxious to see him actually play the game. Let's see if he does that. All right, let's try it here. Export. All right, we're going to play it. Let me skip back a minute. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, so he's probably talking about an animated...
We're on both screens, I think.
Oh, how did that happen? Thank you. Thanks for the call out. So this is where I'll be spending a lot of my time, is probably in this little area. And it is going to take some debugging and things, but like collecting a coin, jumping around, like that looks really cool. Jumping through blocks.
Nice.
I don't know, man.
No, that's great.
This is what's like getting me pumped on this stuff. So there's a lot of videos out there. There's lots of ways that we can get into that. So here, this is what I wanted you to do, is that let's actually go into Godot.
Okay.
Because I did some work. I'll just do it this way. In Godot, and I did a tutorial. Okay. Called Speedy Saucer. And it took me, I think it was like 25 some videos, and the whole point of this game was to create a little saucer, and then it goes through this little maze, and like there's not really even an end point. Like when there's nothing that happens. It isn't like game over. It was just enough to like learn a lot about the game. And we talked about this a little bit last time.
Yeah.
But just to give you a quick reminder of the tour of this, so you can kind of see what's at. On this lower left-hand side, we have this collection of what you would call our scenes and textures. And so scenes, there's only one. It's actually this one right here. It's a level 1. And then there was a level script. So you basically are saying, here's the level and the pieces of it, and then there's a script to like run on top of it.
Okay.
Then there's the maze itself. So think about everything that we compile is a bunch of like scenes, quote unquote, and then you compile them. So you had to make this player as its own scene, this maze as its own scene. So if I go to the player level, there's just the player. So you can kind of work on that. There's the maze, just the maze sitting there. Then we create this level. And what you do in that level is you take like an instance of this player and you're able to put it into the scene.
Yeah.
And so you're basically, this is just compiling all of those pieces that you created in the scene. Now, there's a whole bunch of other little like details and things you do in settings. Of course, it's overwhelming when you first start. But when I watched the first video, it starts to make a lot of sense. Like how this all comes together. It's a fairly simple thing. It's like, go to scene, go to script. Here's here's a script that might run the player. It's basically saying that rigid body is a function. It's a specific thing. It's what makes the player itself. Okay. And once you get that player on this player, you're saying, hey, run this physics process. And basically it's saying push some force on the left, right, and up and down buttons. So we're going to play this in just a second. And so this is what it's doing on the player.
Right.
And it attaches on to the player. There's some ways that you would be able to make that work. You can see what you're on this player right here. If you see up at the top here, clicked on the player level. And in the lower right-hand corner, you can see, hey, on this node, what script is attached to it? The player script.
Okay.
So you basically have a player script that's dropped on this, and you can do all this other work on it. I'm not going to go into complete detail here. Same thing for maze. So let's run this, and I want you to kind of play it to see what this looks like. So it's kind of cool. Hopefully it's going to run. Okay, so there was still some work that I need to do. Now, if you kind of click this around, first of all, the background doesn't move, and the whole point is if you go out of the sides, it resets you.
Okay.
And so in this particular one, go ahead and try it with the arrows. You try to get to the end of there. Now we could tweak some of the things, and Ryan's doing good, and it has like some weird force, and then you go out and you're done.
Nice.
But
yeah, it does. It has like a float to it or something, right? Or like a momentum.
And so the cool thing about this, and there's ways that I can make this zoom in if I put it big screen. In this case, I made it so it wasn't that way. But it shows you like, how do you put that background? And that background is just a square tile. And how do you make it repeat? Or how do you make it like be parallax? So see how it's like the background stays, but this little thing kind of moves.
Right, moves with it.
And how do you adjust all those little parts? So this one is really good for just introducing the concept. And then of course I could go in and say like, okay, I'm going to escape out of this. And if I were to go to the maze itself, there's like a collision polygon, and this is basically what it's colliding with. And then there's also, if I were to just delete this one, which I could do, so I'll delete this node. This is where the collisions were happening. So one is saying, here's all your collisions. So if I were to like make it all interesting and different,
right,
make that happen. Oops, I don't want to adjust that. You could make a really in-depth path, like try to make this a maze that goes through there.
Yeah.
But then you have to go over here and you add in, and I would put polygon in here. And this is where we're gonna have to learn what all this is. So it'd say, okay, I'm gonna have to put a polygon to create on top of this. So first of all, we created this like collision shape that we really wanted.
Okay.
And what I could do is like I come over here and I'm like, I'm gonna copy all of those little points for the collision shape. Come back over to the polygon itself, and then I'd have to find where that polygon is, and I'd paste the values, and then, oops, I don't want to do that. Got to paste the values on the right shape. And then I could move this thing to like be right over the top of it. And then this particular shape, you could change the color of it. So I could make this like pink,
Right,
or you
yeah.
could do whatever you want. But if I were to go back to the level now, I have to save this. That's right. Save the maze. You come back over here.
Yeah.
And we have our new maze. Now I didn't line it up exactly, but
Sure.
you got this big pink thing. Now, if you were to go play that, you would be like get into that little big section or that section there, and you shouldn't bump into the sides. You can kind of jump around and you fall out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
it's fairly
Totally.
like malleable in
Right.
terms of being able to do a lot of work.
Yeah. No, I feel like a lot, like, yes, you're probably right that there will be like coding stuff in it, but I'm glad that there's stuff that isn't coding, you know?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It feels like you could do a lot of it still with sort of drag and drop or using nodes and points and things like that.
I was thinking of Git, and if we're like committing, like you would be just doing tile sets. You're like, I got the new tile set, or I put that in there. And you would be working on like, here's some level design, or
Right.
here's how this can lay out. And they were like, we want to get this. I was looking at different ways that you'd create a player, and they have like different states that you can create of the player, similar to what we were doing with Roby. Because he would be like, here's run Roby.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, here's Roby jumping
Swing,
Roby. And you
yeah.
like swap out the states at the right amount of time. So
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like what we should do is take the original assets of Roby and build it into this game. And just like say, can
try
we
it.
take that and put it in here
Yeah.
to start?
Just to have something in there, right? Because we already have a bunch of assets to play with. at
Absolutely.
least. Yeah.
But the cool thing is now you could take like those big scenes that you just like would pre-build out and then have to meticulously do.
Right.
And you can say, here's the tile set of those.
Yeah.
And then build that whole world again in this world.
Yeah. Is it a thing where I assume you're trying to still keep it a small file size, right? So you're still trying to duplicate things a lot, right? Like, I mean, he was using tiles, right?
Yeah.
And-
Well, that's just because it's the 2D mode. And the
Yeah.
cool thing he was like, I'm using a 16 by 16 bit tile. You can make a 32 by 32.
Right.
You could do all kinds of it. He was just doing it to get that retro style,
Yeah.
and that you're not having to use all the pixel, but we're not limited anymore.
Yeah,
and the
that's nice.
colors,
Right.
and all of the different things. Like, think how
Totally.
sweet that could be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it feels like the natural evolution of where we wanted our game to be.
Right. Well, I'm just super pumped about it because I
Yeah.
feel like there's some opportunities for us to continue where we're headed with that. Well, Ryan, it's 9:45.
9:45.
And I figured a good way to end the night is to talk a little bit about Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. We've done this a lot on the show. We talked about AI. And we've played with a lot of AI. And we've talked a little bit about prompting, but we've never gotten to the details.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you a little bit of a funny story. Is that we've been doing a lot of AI discussion at work in higher education,
sure.
kind of thinking about like what's the future of AI. And the way that AI kind of outlays is way different than what we're doing. We're doing a lot of LLM work right now. But AI has all these different implications. And let me give you a quick example is that Microsoft, they realize that, okay, what does Microsoft do really well? Like, what is their part in the business world? I'll give you a little hint on it.
Software.
Yeah, so
like
software.
business software.
Yeah, and so what's important about having business software? Like, let's say you're at work and you're working for like a really specific, like a bank, or you're working for some like thing that has a lot of personal identifiable information, PII at it. What's the problem with the AI?
Oh, right. Well, like you're freaked out that if you put any of that in there, it's going to be training their models, or you don't even know where it's going, right? Like it's not in your own little database that you've set up for that type of stuff, right? Like banks and things like that set up very specific sets of software to protect against that kind of stuff, because they can get sued into oblivion if they don't protect it, correctly.
And I mean, not only sued, but you're like exposing like data. You're creating like these honeypots for other hackers to like take over people and phish them. So what Microsoft is doing is they see that, okay, if our thing is business software or building these ecosystems. Like, take for example Adobe, because that's an area. Like, one thing you said earlier, and this is earlier in the year, is that Adobe's cool because all of the different softwares integrate with each other. You go make something in Photoshop and you pull it over into Premiere, you do some After Effects work, and they all integrate together.
You can bring in the different layers. It recognizes all the layers. I can turn on and off layers as I do it. Yeah, nice.
So you take Microsoft, what they've had, they got the whole Microsoft Office suite. So you got PowerPoint, you got Excel, you got Word, you got their heavy hitters up there. You got all of the data, like they have their cloud storage in OneDrive. Yep. So you have all this information that's out there, and you're like, man, we have the ecosystem, right? How can we then integrate AI into it that's not just like, oh, here's the little Grammarly thing that's hanging over here, and you're just fixing your word. Like, how do we tie all of it together? Oh, you got emails that are coming in too? Man, we control your entire Office suite in a way, where you store your data, where you write your documents, where you communicate with your colleagues, like all of it. What if we could say, hey, guess what? We are going to securely wall your stuff off, and you can then have some training over your own data. And so let's say you shared a folder with your colleagues at work. This goes to our team of folks, and all of us have now access to this folder. Why shouldn't we be able to send a message or an AI and it look at some of the data, keep it walled, it's not trained outside of the thing, and be able to pull things from your little shared folder for the whole team?
Totally.
And so that's 100% what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so they're creating these ways that you can say, well, if I opt these things in, now I can search it, and now I can share it. Now it's like a group AI trained pointed model at internal walled off Microsoft stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
It's awesome.
We've been using Azure, right?
Yeah.
Which is their kind of, and that was
Cloud.
their whole thing. They were like, you have a version of ChatGPT in there. It's like 3.5 or something like that at this point. But it's like, it's not going to train anything. It's not going to do anything. It's just yours in there. And a bunch of our clients were like, I don't know. And we had to basically show them like Azure's thing that says, nope, this is all inside. We're not doing any of it. It's like for a while, people were like nervous about all of that stuff. Like they didn't know how it worked. And all they knew that was that like it was taking in a whole bunch of data. And if your data was getting put in there, they didn't want that.
Well, and I think, there's still some like concerns about it.
Yeah.
Like if you have two clients and your folders are sitting next to each other and you don't want those two things.
Yeah.
Like there are going to be implications, and we're going to have to be, thinking about that.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing is that because we work in a Microsoft shop, which, I use some of the tools. I use a lot of Teams. I have this Teams premium account. And what it does is if you turn on transcription, that's all you need to do during a meeting. It will transcribe the meeting, and then it'll summarize it into bullet points, and then it'll give you tasks and actions. There have been a few times in meetings where, typically at the beginning of the meeting, hey, how's your weekend, or what's going on, or everything, or you may, at the end of it be like, stay in with somebody, and you use a few curse words or something like, oh, you're like, oh man, that transcription was on. It like scrubs that out.
Oh, nice.
And then it takes all the main actions of it, and then it puts that in the chat, and then you can kind of interact with it. You could do some stuff with it. So really cool.
I remember back before it did all of those fun things.
Yeah.
Like we would get titles of it'd be like, here's the meeting, where we talked about this and this project and bass fishing. And you're like, did you really, like the bass fishing part at the beginning was just sort of a little get to talking
icebreaker there.
Yeah.
Oh man. So because of that, Microsoft sends out a bunch of invites, and there was one that came out this week, and they were like, executive training in AI. And so I'm an executive, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to see like, what are they training executives to do?
Sure.
And, I would guess I'm younger in that realm of people that maybe have an executive role. And I didn't really think about that too much. So I signed up for the training, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go and check this out. And it just showed me that there's some people that still don't know how to AI prompt. And so I was like, man, this is definitely not for me, because it was for people that just are like still in that uncomfortable mode. Like, how do I do this? What am I like? What is this? It's scary.
Too basic.
A little funny anecdote is the trainer goes in and they wanted to use like it live. And so he was talking to the model live, and like, I always am nervous doing anything live. And so, of course, it was predictable in some of the things that it might have done, but it was like there was some times it kind of messed up and whatnot.
Oh, man.
But what I thought was interesting is they brought like the Microsoft recipe for the prompt. And I thought, what a great way to just kind of share what they're trying to educate people. So let's say you're in a position where you've never tried AI before. Like, what are you doing to prompt an AI? And I thought at minimum, I actually quit out of the meeting because I was like, I like, it is so basic. Like, I get it. I know what you're
like,
going
what
for.
is this, a 3-hour meeting?
Yeah.
Like, I did no.
So before I get into this, one like last little note is that because we have Copilot for as part of our license, if I log into the account, and I think yours probably does this too, if you have it, is that if you do Copilot stuff and have it create a document for you, it will like throw the document off to the side and say, yep, it's in your OneDrive now, so that you can get that document that I made for you. So you're basically prompting this stuff. You're not worried about it training off your stuff, and then it chucks it into your documents. And so when I'm at work, all I use is the secure stuff. Like, I use ChatGPT for things that have no PII or data that would be trained on.
Yeah.
Because I like some of the results on that. Yeah, I do need the premium. I have the premium meeting. I'm all up on it. It's the thing what I got. So here is their. I found this thing online, and we're gonna look at it right now, which I thought was kind of fun. So it was the art and the science of prompting, Ryan.
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
it goes into just kind of like very simple ways of breaking down the prompt. And I'm imagining this is going to be something that is going to be a little bit more. So I'm anxious to talk a little bit about it, but it's like, talking about how to teach it or how to edit certain text or transform documents. They're giving like, here's the things that are the catchwords or the key phrases that are going to be really important.
Okay.
What I thought was really interesting was the section 2. This is probably my favorite part because it's like we naturally do it, but it puts some words and some context as to like what it's asking. Like, you have to say, what is the goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? So you're really setting that first milestone. Like, I need it to get to this point. The outcome will be this.
Yeah.
And then, why are you doing that? What give me the why? Like, where are we headed with it? Which is pretty great. Now, if you take this prompt, as you start to see right here, like, your goal could be a paragraph.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
And your context could be more. And then, in this case, because it's Copilot, like, where are you going to get it? Which information or should you be looking at?
Oh, right. Yeah. Because I feel like that's different. That's different than typically doing it, in ChatGPT or something like that, right? Because it's not pulling from any specific source
from your data. Yeah. So if you're going to there, you're like time bounding it and saying like, look at this thing,
right?
And then like I like the how, like expectations. So you could do this. Please use simple language. So it's like, give me the language, or I don't need the full report. I just need this section of the report.
I don't need a white paper on it. Like, I just want a conversational way to talk about it.
And so they were going back and forth on more like talking this way, but then writing it as being a big piece of it.
Okay.
But I wanted your reaction, at least at this point. Like, is there something missing, and I don't have any preconceived things that's missing. I'm just curious from your lens, like, is this what you do when you prompt?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I sort of do it just sort of generally without thinking about it like that, right? Because you're like, right, here's what I feel like if you don't say, I feel like here's what happens typically. If I don't give it that generate 3 to 5 bullet points, like, it gives me like 2 paragraphs, and typically that's not what I want. I want like 2 sentences or
Yep.
a conversational way about this. A lot of my stuff is marketing, like
Sure.
dialogue, or marketing posts for Network Leader or something, right? Where I'm like, here's a big document. Give me 3 LinkedIn posts that would be like interesting about this. I'm going to add an image to it. So make it only 2 or 3 sentences. I want a conversational, and I want it to like appeal to this persona that I've already written in here. And so then it's like, all right. And so it does it. And then I go, no, those are terrible. I need 3 more, but now make it, more like this and stuff. So yeah, I feel like a lot of this goes in. The source stuff is interesting in the sense of usually if I'm doing a source, I'm just like uploading one document, right? I'm uploading one, Excel file and being like, tell me about this or something. But it is interesting if you were like, here's my entire database of stuff. Look through things from this time period to this time period. I feel like I haven't had to do any of that before. So that's cool.
And it's interesting because your source could be what you paste in there, like using this context or look at this document. There was a conversation about this too. It's that some of the risks of going this route is that the data is going to start to get like stale. So if you're pushing data into the system, it can't go learn off of the data. So I'm curious on how it's going to like if you put this prompt in it spits something out, it's not going to just go take that and learn that and say that, hey, this is what the model should do now going forward. Because what happens when that data changes? Or that's like, you're like, give me the financial numbers from June. And so it goes back and it pulls like June of 2002.
Right.
Like 20 years.
And that's where you would hope that they start getting smart enough to ask you follow-up questions, right? Where it would say like, ooh, do you mean 2000? Do you mean last year or this year? Right.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is that if that data is using to train the model. So if you use 2000, let's just say 2022, you use that data to train the model and now it's 2025 and that data shouldn't be in the model anymore because it's old. Like it's showing old stuff.
But you would want it to be in there because I might say, show me the difference between 2022's financial data of June and June and 2025's June, and give me a little bar graph of that.
I think you're absolutely correct on that. And like, this is where I get a little confused. Like, what if it anonymizes or does something so that it doesn't really like know this is the true data of 2022. So it's like, it hallucinates. And it's like, sure, you are doing an amazing job. Right. You are like $1 billion in the black.
Because that's the difference between the what was it? Sort of the wishy-washy language model where it just sort of wants to give you what it wants, and like the internet model where it's like, no, a number is a number is a number, and that's what it is. Like that's why it needs to compile those two and be able to say like, sometimes I want this and sometimes I want actual data.
100%.
And they haven't gotten to that yet, I don't think. Basically, that's like sort of where the AGI is.
I think there's options and there's ways that they can kind of, and that's what they're working on right now. So this is like the Microsoft lens on it. So I like that it's like, keep it going, have these conversation. You could do a lot more with it. So I just thought it was interesting. It was like, they're really trying to educate people on the right ways to do this.
It's like, if they want people to use their product, it's almost like, it feels like when you would have Google, right? And you'd be like, I can't just write a sentence. You have to be like, no, I have to write it in a certain way. And I have to put these keywords so that actual stuff comes up. Sort of similar.
You know what's funny is I liked how it said like, use polite language improves the Copilot's response.
I haven't, I still will often say, can you please do something? Like I will still say that occasionally. I used to do it every single time, but now I'm just kind of like, well, I use it too much to say please every time.
And I don't know if it's saying to do that. I know we're at time, so I figured like we could end with the do's and the don'ts.
Okay.
So some of the do's I thought, were pretty self-explanatory. I like that it says that, like examples. What I thought was funny was like write legibly came up or like in the right grammar. So the better you can get it, because I think there are some words that you misspell that could pull up some completely different things, or capitalization indicates like proper nouns and other kind of things that are important.
Yeah.
So interesting. And there's that be polite, respectful language.
I
when
feel like they
chatting.
just don't want a bunch of curse words and things like that like in there. I can't believe that it wouldn't.
I think it's because like maybe how it's trained. It's like trained to be like nice back. I know that's a great one. It's interesting. So here's the don'ts. Request unethical content.
Inappropriate content. That makes
Use
sense.
slang, jargon, or informal language may cause to give low quality, inappropriate responses. Give conflicting instructions. None of this is like super makes sense.
Oh, right. And I have found I do have to do the new task. Like if it's in the same vein, but I wanted to think about it in a different way, you're like, no, don't forget all that stuff that I've been talking about before.
Yeah. It's a challenge. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
You can kind of see it.
But are you going to put that on the Discord?
Yeah. Did they spell don'ts wrong? Don'ts. You put the apostrophe after the T, right?
No, because the N and the T is what you're
do nots.
like, because
You're right.
the not is the part that you're like abbreviating, right?
Just looked weird to me.
It does because you don't see don'ts very much, right?
Yeah.
Like with an S.
Do
And so you would
nots.
think like with the S would be where you would put the apostrophe.
So
Anyway.
I think Copilot is when and so what in my little productivity thing, I have my version of it,
Oh, nice.
and it gives you some create
Yeah.
action plans, create a short thank you note. So it's
Have
really
you started to use the ones where it just says like, here's your email. Here's an email you got. What do you want to respond to that email? And it has like 3 different, like, do you want to respond to it asking them a question again, or just like replying and saying good? Like that's the Google one now, is because we use Google. And so the Google one just says like, it just has 3 kind of responses that you want to give. And you're like, is it, yeah, thanks for doing that, or I'm looking forward to doing this, or ask them a question. And so you'll go through and you'll be like, yeah, that one. And then it'll be like, okay, like I added that to it. Was that the right question? And then it'll give you like 3 more
keeps
questions
going
at the
down
bottom.
the list.
Like
Yeah.
it gives you more questions at the bottom.
I
And
think
you'll be
that's-
like, yeah, that's like, and you know what it's great for is like, I always hate, like, I don't know. I'm the type of person that like, I hate it when I have to be, when everyone is like, thanks for doing that. And then they write back, yeah, no problem. Happy to talk about it. Cool, thanks. And you're like, dude, how many emails is that we had to write back and forth for like this pleasantry, I guess, of something? But I know it's like part of work life, right? It's like getting acknowledged that you sent a thing and that has been acknowledged so that you can sort of check it off a list or do whatever. And so just being able to go like hit a button that says, yeah, hey, thanks, Brenda, for sending me over that X thing. I appreciate that, Ryan. And I just have to hit a button and then say go, like way better. Like that's way better.
I think it, just, I don't know if yours has emoji, but do you have, they have like emojis in our email system. So you have notifications. So this is like, we use it all the time. So I send something and like you said, you need that acknowledgement sometimes. Right. Well, what you can do is you go to this upper right-hand side and you can click a thumbs up or a thumbs down or all these little things.
Nice.
And then
it
you
does
have
it to the email?
It does it to the email.
Okay. See, that's cool. No, it doesn't have it.
But then it has a notifications like channel that's like a whole piece of the email that pops out so you can see all your notifications and validate it, and it's pretty cool.
That is good. I mean, that's why I like using Teams or Slack or whatever, because somebody can write a thing and you're just like, yep,
upvote or
thumbs up or whatever. I always do. I mostly here's my go-to emoji. Little tip for Ryan at the end. Head sunglasses, because I feel like that's the cool emoji, and I always feel like I'm just like cool. Thanks for sending that. Cool. And I do face with sunglasses.
That's funny. I never say cool in my messages,
Yeah,
but that's
I'm
a
just
good
like,
way to
cool.
do it.
Cool.
I think Teams is amazing for emoji use. There's so many emojis that you can do.
And I feel like there's so many better ways to write people than writing words out. Like I will often just do GIFs you know?
Yeah, Mike Azul.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like I like the GIF. It like I'll just hey, how's everybody feeling about this thing? And everyone just posting funny GIFs from things. Like I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the GIF as reaction.
It is a good way to do it. It's amazing.
Yeah, like somebody sends you a dumpster fire, you know exactly what they're thinking.
Well, Ryan has to go.
I'm fading quick. I was getting to the end of there, and I was like, oh man.
I mean, you did it 2 hours. You made the show tonight.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging out with us, y'all. It's been a good night. I love the questions for humans. It's been a good one. This was a good show. I think it was good. We had some good topics tonight. So check us out next time. We are gonna all update the website. Will this be up there? You'll get some details of where we're headed, and
Nice.
we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mike Azul. I appreciate that.
All right. Have a good night. We'll see you. I don't know if we should say. Oh, there. Outro time.